During the years from 1400 to 1600, the late Renaissance into the Baroque period, composers started to favor a choral and instrumental writing style of four parts: soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. That writing style is still used predominantly even today for both instrumental and choral writing. Sometimes it's referred to as voice leading or part writing, and in this video, in this chapter, we're going to discuss how to voice the notes of the tonic and dominant triads. There's going to be three areas of consideration, three primary areas of consideration. The first is voice range, and that is that if you're writing for voices, you have to consider their range, how high and low they can sing. Just like if you were writing for instruments, you'd have to consider how high and low they can sing. These ranges I'm going to give you are conservative estimates. I generally like students to write well within the ranges of the voice parts. So for soprano, we're going to stick to no lower than, say, a D and on up to possibly F at the top of the staff. Then for alto, we're going to let them go down lower, or the lower female voice part, maybe to an A, and up as high as, say, possibly a C. For tenor, we're going to have them, they're the higher male part, sing possibly as low as, say, a D on the bass clef staff, and on up to an F. And this is, you could possibly go up a little bit higher, to that G, but we don't want to stretch it too much. And then the basses down to an F, and then their high note up to a C. So you can see that our soprano voice is the highest female voice. Our alto voice is the next highest female voice. The tenor, the highest male voice, and the bass, the highest or the lowest male voice. And when we're writing, we're going to keep the soprano, out of the alto range, keep the alto out of the tenor range, and keep the tenor out of the bass range, at least for each individual chord. All right, another area of consideration besides voice range is going to be doubling. Since we're writing for a triad, which only has three voice parts, or three chord members, the root, the third, and the fifth, but yet we're writing for four voice parts, the soprano, the alto, the tenor, and the bass, we're going to have to double one of these notes of the triad. So for instance, if I was voicing a triad that's spelled G, B, D, that would be, say, the tonic triad in the key of G, or it would be the dominant triad in the key of C. I've got three notes to voice, and we're going to voice all of these in root position, meaning that the root of the chord, G, in this case, will be the lowest note. So let's give the bass a G, and let's also give the tenor a G. So now I've doubled the G, and the two remaining the two remaining chord members, the third of the chord B and the fifth of the chord D, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to actually put the D in the alto and the B in the soprano. So now the soprano is well within the soprano's voice range. The alto is right in the pocket for the alto voice range. The tenor is in a nice range for itself, and then the bass is in a nice voice range. And yet I've got all three members of the triad, and the root is doubled. And that, remember, is the important one, double the root. And I could have done that another way. So for instance, I could have had the G in the bass. This is a little higher. It's an octave higher for the bass, but it's still well within the bass's voice range. And I could have given the B to the tenor. Could have given the D to the alto, and this G is definitely not too low for soprano. So this is another way of voicing the exact same chord, only I've just put it in a closer position. And that brings up the final topic, and that is triad position. Chords can be in open or closed position, and it's simply this: an octave or more between the soprano and the tenor is called open position, and less than an octave between the soprano and the tenor is called closed position. So whenever you're voicing a triad, let's do another one. Let's say that we're doing, let's go for the C, major triad, which could be the tonic in C major, or it would be the dominant in F major. So if we're voicing a C major triad, and I put a C down here, and I put a G here, and I put an E here, and a C here, it turns out I do have the right doubling, right? I've got the idea of doubling, meaning that you've got two of the roots, and this chord is spelled C, E, G. So I want two of that, right? So there's my one C, and there's my other C. So I've got two roots, then I've got a third, there's my E, and then I've got a fifth, there's my G. And I do have more than an octave between the soprano and the tenor. So this would be open position, but I could put it in closed position. Let's keep the same C down below, but up top I'm going to put G for the soprano, E for the alto, and this C for the tenor. So because there is less than an octave between soprano and tenor, we say this is closed position. Both are correct. One will have a more open resonant sound, maybe a little hollower sound. The other will be warmer and thicker in texture. So it's just a decision a composer has to make when he's voicing a chord. And also, what is your melody you're trying to harmonize? What's the note that's up high?